The man accused of a hammer attack on the husband of House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi also wanted to target other public figures, including actor Tom Hanks, a court has heard. A police officer who interviewed David DePape told the hearing that President Joe Biden's son Hunter and Democratic California Governor Gavin Newsom were also on the suspects' hit list. Mr. DePape is facing 6 charges, including attempted murder, for the October 28 incident. He pleaded not guilty to all counts last month. At the end of Wednesday's nearly 4-hour hearing, San Francisco Superior Court Judge Stephen Murphy ruled there was enough evidence for the trial to proceed. Officers testified about how they responded to the attack on Paul Pelosi at the family home in the California city. According to prosecutors, the defendant had planned to hold Mrs. Pelosi hostage. But she was in Washington, D.C. at the time. The emergency call placed by Mr. Pelosi, 82, was played to the court. The dispatcher asked, "Do you know who the person is?" "No, I don't know who he is," Mr. Pelosi responded. Police SGT Kyle Cagney testified that he had arrived at the house seconds before Mr. DePape swung the hammer onto Mr. Pelosi's head, cracking his skull. The officer displayed the weapon to the court. The court also saw police body camera footage in which officers directed the suspect to drop the hammer, before he said, nope, and bludgeoned Mr. Pelosi. SGT Carla Hurley testified that she had interviewed the suspect for over an hour on the day of his arrest. She told the court of Mr. DePape's alleged hit list, but did not say whether police had any evidence of such a plot. SGT Hurley quoted Mr. DePape as saying, "There is evil in Washington. What they did went so far beyond the campaign. It originates with Hillary. Honestly, day in day out, they are lying. They go from one crime to another crime to another crime." Mr. DePape attended the court wearing an orange prison jumpsuit. One of the Pelosi's 5 adult children, Christine Pelosi, also attended. Police have previously said Mr. DePape told them he was on a suicide mission when he smashed in the glass back door of the Pelosi home in the upmarket Pacific Heights neighborhood. Mr. DePape is scheduled to be back in court for a formal reading of the charges on December 28.
Stock futures mixed following Fed update and ahead of more economic data. Stock futures were mixed Thursday morning following the Federal Reserve's latest policy update. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 44 points. S&P 500 futures inched up 0.1% and Nasdaq 100 futures were fractionally lower. In regular trading, the Dow fell 142 points, while the S&P 500 declined 0.61% and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.76%. The major indexes reacted negatively as investors digested the Federal Reserve's latest comments following a boost to its overnight borrowing rate. The central bank said it will continue hiking rates through 2023 and projected a higher-than-expected terminal rate of 5.1%. With Wednesday's half a percentage point hike, the targeted range for rates is currently 4.25% to 4.5%. Which is the highest in 15 years. "The Fed just put a roadblock in front of Santa's sleigh," said Sylvia Yablonsky, CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Defiance ETFs. She also noted the tone of Fed Chair Jerome Powell, who in speech Wednesday afternoon sounded strict and clear that he doesn't have a plan to pause or take a reversal path. "It's going to be higher for longer and monetary policy is going to be more restrictive than thought," Yablonsky said. "The market is going to be handicapped by Fed policy for some time longer. Though we like the news and like seeing CPI prints like the last one that led to a short-lived rally, This is going to give us some near-term volatility. Despite favorable improvements like modest growth, spending and production, Powell indicated he remains concerned job gains are too robust and the unemployment rate is too good for the Fed's fight against inflation. Investors will get another batch of economic data to digest Thursday. Retail sales, jobless claims and Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Index are all due out at 8:30 a.m. China's November retail sales see significant miss. China's industrial production for November grew 2.2%, after seeing a growth of 5% in October, according to official data. That's lower than expectations for growth of 3.6% in a Reuters survey. Retail sales fell 5.9% on an annualized basis, further than expectations of a decline of 3.7% in a Reuters survey and a fall of 0.5% the previous month. Lennar shares rise after hours. Lennar posted earnings of $4.55 per share, falling short of estimates of $4.90, according to Refinitiv. The company's outlook for new orders also missed estimates. Revenue came in higher than expected, however. Bond king Gundlach says the Fed should not do more rate hikes. DoubleLine Capital CEO Jeffrey Gundlach said he believes the Federal Reserve should stop raising rates after the latest hike as the economy is already weakening. I think they should not do any more hikes after today, Gundlach said on CNBC's Closing Bell Overtime, Wednesday, adding that the central bank might do one more 25 basis point rate increase. The so-called Bond King said the central bank will be highly encouraged by the inflation data in the next 6 months. Gundlach predicted that the Consumer Price Index will fall to 4.1% in June from a peak of 9.1%. The index increased 7.1% last month from a year ago, rising less than expected. I think there has been some progress on inflation, Gundlach said. Nobody's really talking about all of these runaway price increases anymore. With the economy weakening, I think the inflation rate is going to fall faster than most economists do. Stock futures opened little changed on Wednesday night as investors digested the Federal Reserve's latest policy update. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures were up 20 points, or 0.06%. Futures tied to the S&P 500 were higher by 0.07%. Nasdaq 100 futures also hovered above the flat line at 0.03%.
At least 3 dead and multiple injured as tornadoes wreak havoc across Louisiana and the southeast. At least 3 people have died and more than a dozen were left injured across Louisiana over the past 24 hours as severe weather moves across the south, carving a path of destruction. A tornado touched down in New Orleans around 4 p.m. Central Time Wednesday, the National Weather Service confirmed. A tornado debris signature was evident on radar and numerous power flashes were seen on tower cameras as the storm moved through the eastern portion of the city. Damage has been reported, but the extent is unclear at this time. This is one of 3 tornado reports across the New Orleans metro in the last 2 hours. The Weather Service has not issued a report with details on the path of the tornado yet. But the hardest hit areas were from Gretna to Arabi in Louisiana. Wednesday's severe weather is worse than Hurricane Ida, Gretna Mayor Belinda Constant told CNN affiliate WDSU. The hurricane hit the area last year. A 56-year-old woman died after a tornado destroyed her home in Kelowna, about 30 miles west of New Orleans, according to a tweet from the Louisiana Department of Health. The identity of the woman was not immediately released, officials in St. Charles Parish said Wednesday. 8 other people in the parish have non-life-threatening injuries, Sheriff Greg Champagne said during a news conference Wednesday. Champagne said the tornado was violent. "There's a piece of debris on the levee behind you that came from our firing range, 1.7 miles away," he said, adding this was the second time in 2 weeks a tornado touched down in St. Charles Parish. This one created quite a bit of devastation. More than 300 miles north, a boy and his mother were found dead after a tornado destroyed their home Tuesday in the northwestern Louisiana community of Keithville, the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office said. The boy's body was located Tuesday about a half-mile from the home, Sheriff Steve Prador told CNN affiliate KSLA. The mother was found dead early Wednesday about a street over from where the house had been, and 2 other people in the community were injured, the sheriff's office said. And 20 people were injured in the small Union Parish town of Farmerville in northern Louisiana, near the Arkansas border, Farmerville Police Detective Cade Nolan said. Across the rest of the state, debris where homes once stood and cars flipped upside down were seen in devastated communities where numerous residents told CNN they hid in their bathtubs in fear as they rode out the storm. The storm system knocked out power to more than 45,000 customers in Louisiana and more than 9,000 in Mississippi, according to poweroutage.us. Louisiana Gov. John Bell Edwards declared a state of emergency Wednesday in response to the storms, according to an emergency proclamation. "This dangerous storm is still with us. Stay weather aware and heed the warnings of your local officials," the governor tweeted. Louisiana Lieutenant Gov. Billy Nundiser told CNN's Anderson Cooper the state was lucky this past hurricane season. "But this storm didn't spare us at all. And it touched every part of the state." Wednesday's threats come after storms Tuesday spawned tornadoes and splintered homes and businesses from Oklahoma and the Dallas-Fort Worth area to Mississippi and parts of Louisiana.